for the first time in my life, I, Joe Lars Larson, am the proud owner of a pair of Nike Air Jordan shoes. I finally got myself a pair of Jordans.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I saw them yesterday and I was like, oh wow, okay, I like those shoes.
Oh,
I didn't
I'm
say
not talking
anything.
about the shoes I'm wearing now. These are just fill-ins until the Jordans arrive.
Oh,
These are other shoes. So here's something about me is I come from like very middle class background, like obviously middle class North American white privilege. Hello, but not like from money. My parents were teachers, so we were middle class. It's like we never had like we never lacked, but we also didn't have all the like not we didn't have boats and jet skis and top of the line equipment. Like it wasn't like I could just like wish for something and all of a sudden it showed up. So there was a little bit of frugality and a little bit of paying attention to bills and price tags. And one of the things that I've carried over from that as an adult is I've always been very frugal with running shoes. Like I buy my running shoes at like Payless or Winners, and kind of the mark would be like I would choose style over price, like something that just looks kind of cool or is the right style, but like 40 to 60 bucks. And I would never really, with a rare exception when I was a kid with baseball cleats, I might spend back then $100 or 120 bucks on fancy Nike baseball cleats or something. But I've always been very frugal. So the other day, I bought a pair of running shoes from Winners for like whatever they are, 45 bucks, 50 bucks. They look cool. They felt all right. And then they fell apart within like 2 weeks. I like to lace my shoes up tight and I laced them up and the lace just ripped the loopholes right out of it. So I brought them back to Winners and I got these ones as they replaced these ones. These ones are great. I don't know what they are. Again, kind of no name, just casual shoes. But in the meantime, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to buy some top notch athletic shoes. I want them for the gym. I want them to go on runs when I'm doing the boxing workouts. So I went on, started searching cross trainers, stumbled across a pair of Air Jordans, and I'm like, I like the look of these. And I was like, you know what? I've never owned Jordans. I've never splurged. There's a little bit of like scarcity minded, like I'm like penny pinching over 60 bucks versus 80 bucks versus 100. They were 160. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to get some solid shoes. I've never owned a pair of Jordans before. I'm going to do it. I don't really have any reason that I should be sweating the difference between 60, 40, 60, 80 or 100. It's like it's $100. It's nothing. So I ordered them. And the other reason I ordered them is specifically Jordans is I just like the idea of like Michael Jordan is such an icon of excellence and confidence and championships and all that stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna pay a little more to give myself a reminder that the world is abundant. I'm abundant. So I can pretty much make money on demand, and everything is going well business wise and personal wise. And I'm gonna have the constant reminder of being a fucking champion like Jordan everywhere I walk around. So it was a big moment to me. I was proud of myself. I was like, and again, I want to just note how white privilege this entire conversation is, where I'm like, oh, what a good job I've done buying myself a pair of $180 running shoes. But I'd never done it before. So I was like, I'm going to splurge and just settle into my future abundant self, starting with my Air Jordan. So thank you, Michael Jordan. Thank you, Nike. Sometimes you got to splurge for yourself. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Treat yourself.
It sounds ridiculous. Some of you might be listening, like, what are these guys talking about? But there is a difference, like making that switch from scarcity to abundance,
Yeah.
of like worrying, and then like what am I actually thinking? Especially like price with certain things, electronics, or maybe certain shoes or sports equipment, spending like half a day or a day price comparison and comparison shopping, where then all of a sudden you're not calculating what you're not calculating. You're trying to save 20 or 40 bucks, but then you spend 6 hours doing it, which means you're telling yourself you're worth $5 an hour, which is a terrible way to think about yourself. So it's like, it's also about raising what your time is worth and what your time is spent in. As an actor, as a performer, our time is at the top level, thousands and thousands of dollars an hour, or thousands of dollars a day, $1,000, $5,000 a day. So that's that. That's my new Jordan. So stay tuned for my Jordans. And this is my call to action to all of you. If there's something that you normally skimp on because you have a scarcity minded or you're worried about bills, it's nice when it's a reward. So maybe do something cool. For me, it was kind of a reward of getting all that shit done. It was like, man, now I deserve a reward. But whether it's a nice dress or a cool jacket or a new pair of sunglasses or some shoes, go out and treat yourself. Go buy something. Support the economy. Apparently we're in a recession, so
go do small businesses
and buy something. And there's also something to say for buying something. Like I was thinking I'm saving money buying $40 $50 pair of shoes, but if they fall apart, then you're not saving any money. So as it turned out, they just gave me a refund and a store credit, and I've got these ones now that aren't really gym shoes, but they're just casuals.
I like them. They're a good color.
Got a lot of blue stuff too, so they match. Like blue, wearing a blue hat with blue shoes. You know, I match. They say if you're wearing a hats and shoes are a good thing to, especially hat, shoes, belt. If you can match those all the way through, they're like, that guy's got style. And this has come from a guy who's colorblind. Yeah, that's good. So that's that. Yeah, just on fire, man. And I think part of the other thing that I wanted to talk about today, we might have touched on it last week, was just that idea of identity. In order for any changes in your life to happen, it has to first start with your thoughts, and really your thoughts about who you are as a person, the standard you set for yourself. And one of the things, one of my mentors, James Wedmore, through Business by Design, he always talks about you have to make decisions from your future best self. So if you're you can relate it to business or to acting. If you're brand new in acting and you are doing smaller bit parts, well, if you're thinking like a bit part player and you're thinking like a background player and, I just got one line. No, you got to project yourself forward to how does a leading actor work and operate? What do they look like? What do they sound like? What are their habits like? And obviously those are two very different things. And you want to operate from that future top self. Or from a business owner, for me, part of this expansion is me realizing I have to act like a digital CEO for Laughing Vikings and Actors Audition Club. And I got to look forward, like at top level, if this is an international global company with multiple locations and hundreds of actors and performers being involved, then what does that business operate? What does it look like? How does it operate? What's my role and what's my area of focus there? Which is why we're bringing on new session directors, why we're bringing on virtual assistants and remote editors and podcast editors and all that kind of stuff. Is instead of thinking where are we now and scrambling to operate based on present or past tense. The worst is when you operate from a past identity. A lot of people do that. You think based on your limitations, stories you've heard, stories you told yourself, stories your family said to you, remarks you've collected over the years about who you are, that minimize who you are. And then you act according to your past, and you never break free, or you never get to a next level, because in your head, your identity is tied to something a teacher or your parents shit talked you into thinking and believing about yourself. So it's about who do you want to be, and then start acting like that person now. And what ends up happening is you live into that future based on having those thoughts and that identity. And so like being, and a big thing for everyone, whether it's actors or business people or just in your own family, is operating from a role model standpoint. So realizing that it's not just about you, realizing that your family members, your friends, your peer group, your coworkers, the general public, people are always watching and people are always seeing what you're doing. And the more you can elevate yourself, the more you'll have a positive impact on those people around you. People see you as a role model and be like, wow, that person's kind of got his shit together. Or when the shit gets tough, that person doesn't lose their mind. They stay calm and they stay collected and they still seem positive. And then people will look to that. If I came out of the cockpit of a plane and was like, oh my God, everything's terrible. What the fuck is going on? You would be like, oh shit. But if I come out and I'm like, now we've got to look at you. We're dealing with this right now. Everyone stay calm and collected. Note that your inflatables are under your seat and your oxygen mask, should we need it, is right here, and stay calm and collected. That's a lot better feeling than being the person who's losing their shit and freaking out. So hopefully that makes sense. Be a role model, live into your future self, your highest self, and remind yourself every day, is the person I want to be the person I'm acting like and acting from right now? And if not, there's a disconnect there. And often we're living into our past rather than living into our future. That's my TED talk for today.
Well done. Well done.
Yes, my Lars.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. I've been working a lot more on my music, or getting uh, better at understanding music, because I wanna be in music theater more. I miss it. It was a lot of fun, and I love the genre, and I'm continuously focusing on learning that aspect of it, so I'm confident when I step on stage and I'm working with somebody else on it. And so that's something I'm focusing on right now. Is I want to get better at that. I want to, and maybe it's a good idea to focus on learning an instrument, and because I never did learn that growing up, and so I should actually pick something and learn that.
Yeah, you can borrow the slide whistle if you want.
Ooh, Brandon Knox, professional slide whistler.
That's interesting that you say that, because I remember not too long ago you were sort of lamenting and cursing musical theater, like you were fed up with it. I think you, maybe without naming names or situations, I think you had maybe a negative experience that turned you off it for a while, and you were like, I might remember you specifically saying "fuck musical theater" at one point, or like, I never want to do that again, or
Yep.
I've had enough. So nice, good to see you
Yeah.
back in the musical world. Yeah, and for just continuing on that TED Talk rant about living into your highest self, for an actor, it's like, decide what you want and what that person's going to look like, and then what do your daily routines and thoughts and habits look like. For a leading actor, that probably means you're doing daily warm-ups, daily workouts, you're working on monologues, you're working on texts, maybe you're spending time networking and collaborating with other actors, other directors, filmmakers, or at least part of your day is happening, creating community or developing relationships. Someone who's a lead actor as well, if you're aspiring to be at that level, likely has a team around them too. So it's about building that team. What's your relationship like with your agent, with your manager, publicist, accountant, all of those people? Is just realizing, if top level you want to be like that A-list type person, well, they're almost a whole industry or a company in and of themselves. So start thinking like that and start building that. Can you, even as an actor, to pick up a virtual assistant or a personal assistant, where they're handling maybe some of your social media, or some of your social media management, or even some of your outreach, or maybe they're helping you develop a website, or little things like that. Thinking of what's your zone of genius as a performer, it's really going to be, you want to be on stage, on set, or you're rehearsing, or you're writing, or you're working on like the business side of things, your marketing side of things behind the scenes.